Back in the late 90s, Pokemon was the biggest franchise on the planet. Whenever anything becomes so popular, there's always going to be people trying to capture the same audience, hence why we have Digimon. I enjoyed Digimon when I was younger, but I was never into it as much as Pokemon, and once Pokemon started to dip in popularity, I gave up on Digimon. The reason I now enjoy Pokemon again though is because I really like the games, so I was curious to see if the Digimon games are any good. I don't know anything about Digimon anymore, but a good game is a good game regardless, so I decided to try out Digimon World DS. So is Digimon World DS a different but fun twist on Pokemon, or is it a game that is strictly for Digimon fans only? Let's take a look. The story is that you are a kid who discovers the world of Digimon after being sucked into a computer. The world is mostly filled with Digimon, but there are also people who train Digimon called Tamers. You decide that you want to become the very best like no one ever was and try to reach the top level of Tamer by completing tasks set by the 4 main Digimon in the world. From what I can tell, the game's story isn't linked to the story of the Digimon anime, so you can understand everything that's going on. However, I found it hard to like the story because of how all over the place it is. As well as trying to become the highest ranked Tamer, there is also a plotline about an evil Digimon called Unknown D that is trying to, well, just be evil. It isn't the focus of the story though, as you spend your time achieving tasks that you have to do to increase your Tamer rank, such as finding some guy called Phil and raising a specific Digimon. Without one proper overall plotline, I quickly gave up on caring about the story at all, which made it having to sit through all the dialogue feel like a waste of time. The dialogue is also quite childish, but it is a Digimon game, so I won't complain about that. Digimon World DS sits firmly in the Japanese JRPG genre, as it features turn-based battles and a leveling up system. The leveling up system is based around catching, raising and digivolving your Digimon. The core leveling up is similar to most JRPGs, where you gain experience by defeating enemies, and when you level up your stats will increase. Catching and digivolving Digimon is a bit different. Every time you encounter a Digimon, you automatically scan it. Once you have scanned it enough times, you can digi-convert it, which means you can create your own copy of that Digimon from the scan data and use that one in your party. To make your Digimon stronger, you have to digivolve them and degenerate them. Whenever a Digimon reaches a certain level, you can digivolve it into a new, more powerful form. However, to reach the higher levels, you have to degenerate your Digimon back to the lesser forms, as this will both increase their level cap and they will have greatly higher stats than before. I'm sorry for going into how to get the more powerful Digimon, but the point is that Digimon doesn't dumb down the JRPG elements like you would expect. You have to be aware of how everything works, and while at first it can be a bit off-putting to how much there is to the system, if you're willing to put in the time, it is very rewarding. It can be frustrating having to level up a Digimon back to its most powerful form because you had to degenerate it back to its first form, but it is satisfying in the end. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who doesn't enjoy other JRPGs, but if you do, then you can probably get sucked into the leveling up system, and it has a good amount of depth to it. The game uses a hub world structure. In the hub world you can take new missions, buy new items and equipment, and talk to people and Digimon there. Missions involve using the warp pad to go to a dungeon, and then in that dungeon hunting down a boss, a person or an item. The hub world structure is okay. It means that after every mission you can spend as long as you like sorting out your Digimon and equipment and making sure that you're ready for the next dungeon. However, having the world split into the different dungeons does kill the sense of exploring a new world. My biggest problem with the dungeons though is how much of a pain it is to get through them. They are basic in design, but there are times when you have to make a decision about which way to go, with one likely being a dead end and the other being the correct path. This wouldn't be a problem except for the fact that there are random battle encounters everywhere you go in each dungeon. If you go the wrong way, it isn't as simple as turning around and checking the other path, you'll have to sit for a few random battles before getting back on track. It becomes very tedious having to sit through the battles when all you want to do is get to the end of the dungeon. I will give the game design some credit, as you do need the random battles or else you won't have enough experience point to beat the bosses, so the random encounters only become annoying when you're lost. The game doesn't give you a map of the dungeon you're in, so towards the end of the game I just went on to GameFAQs to avoid the time consuming process of finding the correct path to go in a dungeon. That's all the game needed to make the dungeons work, a map. So if you wanted to find the extras, you can, but if you don't have to waste your time being lost. When you do know where you're going, the dungeons aren't too bad, but definitely expect some dungeons to become tedious. Another way you can raise Digimon is by using the Digifarms. You can place a Digimon into the Digifarms where they will continue to level up and grow when you're not using them. A Digimon in a Digifarm needs food, and while you can train them up more, it will cause them stress. The Digifarms are a nice idea, and it's cool that on the top screen your Digifarms are displayed at all times, but I found it to be a pointless feature. You get Digimon food at the end of battle, so you don't have to worry about maintaining your farms in any way. You can also carry 6 Digimon in your party, and although you can only use 3 Digimon at a time in a battle, all 6 Digimon gain the experience. You can raise Digimon much faster when you're in your party rather than using the Digifarms, because you only use 3 Digimon in battles and you'll never need more than 6 Digimon to beat the game. When I played this game I was mainly interested in beating it, but if you're someone who would enjoy trying to obtain the 300 Digimon in the game, then the Digifarms are really useful and a nice idea. The Digifarms are also used for the side missions in the game. Once you reach certain requirements you can talk to your Digimon and they will ask you to complete a task. I completed very little side missions, as unlocking them can be a pain as you need to own certain Digimon, and the reward for doing them is making your own Digimon happy and nothing much else. If you want to gain some experience and increase the game's length, then they are worth doing, just don't expect too much from them. The turn-based battles are pretty decent in Digimon World DS. There is a similar system to Final Fantasy X, where there is an order that each Digimon can take their turn, which is determined by their speed. The battles also use a positioning system where both you and the enemy have 5 slots that you can be in. Each attack has a specific range, so while one attack might be able to hit any 2 slots on the field, another will only be able to attack the 3 middle slots. It adds a nice layer of depth to the battles, and even though you won't worry too much about where everyone's Digimon are, it does stop battles from becoming mindless. Despite not pushing the DS, the graphics are also very nice to look at. All the Digimon look great and everything does have a charming look to it. The game is also fairly long, as it took me almost 17 hours to beat it, and that's without doing the side missions. Digimon World DS is a solid JRPG. Unlike Pokemon, it doesn't strip back the complex parts of normal RPGs, which doesn't make it accessible, but it does make it very addictive. However, making this game like a traditional JRPG does lead to the same problems that they have, such as annoying random battles and having to grind sometimes. It also doesn't help that this game's story is pretty weak. I had a pretty good time with Digimon World DS, and if it strayed a bit more from the traditional JRPG level design, it could have been amazing. My score is 7.0 out of 10. If you give this game a chance, then you can have a lot of fun with it, even if it isn't the best JRPG out there.